Ach, up, ach, up, ach. Oh, wang, 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 wang.
Good morning. My name is Chris Fox, and today we're talking about making characters real in readers' heads. It's a quick tip, and it should be really easy for you to implement. So here's the process. You start by figuring out the motivation for each character in a scene. What do they want? And I would write this down. If you've got 5 characters, write down in 1 or 2 words what they want. Let's say we're going to use the scenario of kids taking a test. So everybody is a classmate in this classroom, and you've got 5 classmates. You want to write down each of their motivations. Some of those kids probably studied for the test and they feel prepared and they're excited to take it because they want to prove that they're good. Most of them are probably afraid to take it either because they didn't study or they don't feel very smart and so they feel unprepared because the material is hard and they don't feel like they belong in this class. Each of them is going to have different concerns and motivations going into taking this test in this class. And you need to know what the motivation for each character in the room is, and you need to be able to express it to the reader through their actions. Now, the lens through which you do that is upbringing. So a character's upbringing is going to inform how they speak. If you tend to be like upper middle class, you probably aren't going to swear as much. Crass language is frowned upon. Crass language is a hallmark in many people's eyes of the poor. So lots of people look down on it, and the higher you get in the social structure, the less likely you are to drop F-bombs. It doesn't happen as frequently. Whereas if this is the wrong side of the tracks and we're at some sort of inner city school, then you're much more likely to see profanity. So you want to understand who the characters in your scene are and what they're likely to say, what their limitations are, what is acceptable to them, what their concerns are, what they're trying to get out of the scene, again, their motivation. And so how we present that is through the first 3 actions that each of these characters take. So if we've got, let's see, a student comes in, and she's wearing designer jeans, and she's got a super nice backpack, and she gives a huff as she passes by a girl who has, a drab dress on and, kind of a crappy backpack. And then, the same character sits down, blows a bubble with some bubble gum, and then tells the story about how over the summer she went to Sydney and she met all these famous people. What have we learned about her? Well, we know that she likes to be the center of attention. We know that she has disdain for people that are not as high as her in the social arena. We know that, she's maybe not a very nice person, has got some growing to do. So you can start inferring things right away from the first few actions. If you have another person who, this is a student on the way to class and, they save a cat on the way there, or fans of Blake Snyder save the cat. They save a cat, so the reader's going to like them. And then, he calls his mom to tell him that he saved the cat or to tell her something or, do something nice for her to further shadow that this is supposed to be a nice guy character. We see where it's building, right? Well, what if the third action is he murders his teacher and hides the body? Nobody sees that coming. So you can really twist this a little bit where you're playing with audience expectations, where as you're presenting these 3 actions, we all know that people have seen a certain trio of actions to define a character because that's how they're defined. So when you're telling stories, this is shorthand that you get across to the audience. Like we know if we show certain actions that it's going to make characters appear a certain way. Well, they know it too. And so you can start playing with it. You don't have to do ones that have been done before, and you definitely can twist expectations a little bit and end up with interesting characters. So what I recommend that you do is rewatch some of your favorite media, like Harry Potter's a great example, and see how each character is introduced. When Draco Malfoy first comes on scene, what are his first 3 actions? And look at the text. What he's saying. Look at his specific words and how he wants to include Harry in this, upper echelon that he's a part of because Harry's a famous person and he thinks he belongs, up among the Slytherin elite nobility instead of down among the mudbloods. You really learn about a character a lot when you first see their few actions. So we as the author know what the motivation is. We don't ever have to tell the audience outright what the motivation is unless we are in the head of that protagonist. But you should show it through those first 3 actions. And it's pretty easy to do if you have an understanding of who that character is because you know their actions are going to flow from that. If one of the kids that's coming into our fictional classroom to take the test has not prepared, one of a few different things could happen, and each of them is going to make us look at this character differently. Maybe they feel completely unprepared and they get their grade back and they're super embarrassed. It's an A-. They felt unprepared. They feel like they flunked the test and they got 2 questions wrong. That tells us something very specific. Or it could be they were expecting to get a D, and so they're handed back a C- and they're proud. They're super proud, like, wow, I can't believe that I did that well. That's going to tell us something else about them as a student. Maybe they really struggle in math. So we learn a lot about them based on their own internal reactions, and again, the first reactions they take. So hopefully this is useful, guys. Please let me know in the comments. I am using a new video camera for the first time, and I'm noticing that it is continually focusing, so that might be really annoying. I'll see if I can fix that. And if not, then maybe I go back to the old camera, but I wanted to try a new one. All right, guys, I'm going to get back to the writing, and I will see you next week.